Hi, good morning. Me here again. It's now 3:30 a.m. Sunday morning, the 25th of February, 2024. And you know, I was told yesterday that the firearms competency thing is a competitive exercise and that some people doing it for how much dollars, which includes the Form 1 fill out, the competency certificate, and an on-site doctor. And the person asked me why I not in it. Why not, you know, now is a time to make money, and now is a time that I could really make some money fast and thing. And I thought about it for a very brief second, 5 seconds. I can make money fast. I don't make money. Never made money in my life. God gives me what my needs are. Because if I want what I want, I'd have the biggest range in Trinidad and Tobago, all of 1 acre, nothing bigger than 1 acre. And on that 1 acre, would have a range for night firing, day firing, reduced distance firing, and all the reality based things that go on in a reality situation. I won't have competitive shooting. I won't have people pushing doors and standing up in a box to shoot 6 targets or running with a man with a timer behind my back to see what I do. All of that will be remote, clipped on. I won't have a situation where it discriminates against certain gun owners in Trinidad because they're over 60 and the cost of fire doesn't include geriatric like myself who heading towards 70 now. So I took it upon myself to come to you again with a basic tutorial. And this one is what gives us trouble in holding and recognizing the control of a firearm as it begins with a basic experiential learning. So here goes. This is a drill. You know how to hold a drill. There's a grip part and a triggering part. On the front of the drill, you insert the bit, and when you depress the trigger, you can get some vibrations and control triggering, which will give you the drill function. This is a pistol. Same thing. When loaded and you fire it, it's going to vibrate. The trigger system is similar to this. Control with your index finger. Grip 3 fingers around. This is one of my babies. Same thing. We're concentrating on this area here. This area here. The grip on the trigger end. The grip on the trigger end. This is a rifle. Same thing. The grip area on the trigger end. And this is my cosmetic hand. Beautiful, isn't it? Love the finger work. Well, I didn't go to a beauty salon for that. I did it on my own. How this works is basically when you're doing a tutorial for anybody, the basics in grip, sight alignment, and trigger control. We look at the score after to see if they did everything in unison, so that will give you what we call accuracy. No firearm is accurate. The word accuracy comes from the ability of a human being controlling a firearm in a sequence which will put the shot where they want it to go on a target. That is accuracy. Hit potential. Hit potential and those things are different things. So after you finish, you go to your scope if it's long distance and you use your scope. So this is as classic as I could get at 3 o'clock in the morning. So what I'm going to teach now is basically what happens with a hand, you know, when one grips a gun. There's what they call, most people hold a gun like this. And if you look at the configuration, it's a G. It's like a G. Long and short curve. The right way to hold a gun is like this. This is how your fingers end up on a firearm. On any firearm. In a U hold. Some instructors for years teach it and don't recognize why the students are pulling the gun to the right or to the left, or double flapping their finger on the trigger, because when you have a J like this, the back strap of the gun doesn't go in the cradle between the thumb and the next finger. It ends up riding on the first joint on your thumb, which can become painful after shooting for about an hour. So just a little exercise, like you're going to squeeze something, and it comes, you can't squeeze nothing if you're long overstretch. It's like in dental thing, you have a overbite or underbite, right? So you put your hand together in practice, put it together like this with the tip of your thumb, the tip of your index finger, and then turn your hand forward and then straighten it out. There is your U hold. Ah, you learned something, right? Good. The next thing is you have about three fingers, a grip with three fingers and thumb down. So this is it here now. This is your three fingers, this is your thumb down. This is your trigger finger. Not your trigger, or trigger finger, or your trigger finger. This is your trigger finger. It manipulates the trigger backward. The first joint remains firm, yet pliable, and the rest moves. Here, you can trigger, 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 trigger. So the exercise this morning, free. You don't have to go pee for this one. You know, I was told I'm now going on 70, right? I was 14 years old and I helped a blind Japanese man across the street in on Charlotte Street one Friday evening, and he stood up and he touched me and he said a lot of things to me. And the wisest thing he said is, don't be wise enough not to say anything, to hold back your information when you know where it came from. Others stay silent because they are afraid of what they know. And I live my life with that. So my silence now is gone, is dead. And as a result of that, many people don't understand me. Many people criticize me. There have some people who write on Facebook and talk about who this and who that and who the other. It is all positive for me and building. And when you carry a firearm or you teach firearms, you have to turn every negative into a positive. Otherwise, you'll get lost. With the first cost you get, the first situation you have, you're going to erroneously draw your gun or depend on gun psychology when you should be having, you know, conflict resolution thoughts. Enough of that. Back to the grip. So here goes. Grip. The U hole, the three fingers around, thumb down. Three fingers around, thumb down. Finger, put trigger in. Now goes onto the trigger. For those of you who have long hands, long fingers, you may put it into well inserted into the trigger area, and you're triggering. You see what moves, right? The movement is not this or that or the other. It is trigger, trigger. That is why we have a lot of problems, even when people come to me and I have them go through a dry exercise in the certification process, in the competency progress. Some of them can't even hold a gun, and they've been shooting for years. They can't hold their gun. They hold it like this. They hold it like that. I'll even hold it quite here. You see where it happens? Three fingers are now not enough around the gun. The thumb is now lopsided. And they try to trigger. And this is what happens. They don't get it off. And it is not being corrected. And do you know that this happens even with law enforcement, security personnel? I've been told that law enforcement, anyhow, nothing to say about that. But they too need practice. So this is the grip. Here goes with the MP5. Same thing. Three fingers around. Thumb down. Trigger finger. Manipulation. Then done with the thumb. Trigger in. Burst. Release. Burst. Release. Beautiful configuration. Rifle. Shoulder. Pistol grip area. Stock area. Barrel. Simple. You take it up. You flip. You grip. Three fingers around. Thumb down. And I'm not fancy about anything. I'm about the exercise and triggering. It goes. Right? One hand. You can do the same thing. There goes. No gross movements. Nothing. Okay. So, this is what it is all about. Three fingers. One, two, three. Grip. Thumb down. A bit of safety in here. This finger is your trigger finger. This do not go on the trigger unless you are going to shoot or you in your shooting mode. Accidental discharges happen, unintentional discharges happen, and all kinds of things happen. This actually is in contention with a lot of people. This finger, this is the last safety you have on a firearm before it fires. And I'll explain. Revolvers that I was introduced to 50 years ago had no safety. They had no safety. Today, the Glock and a number of guns come with no external safeties. People are afraid. There are instructors who teaching people to shoot Glock because they buy Glock and telling them carry it with none in the breech. They're carrying a Glock paperweight. They're doing an injustice to the deceased casted Glock when they do that. You load your firearm. You put one in the breech for readiness for firing. If you're not ready to fire, leave the gun home until you get an attack, run home, get the gun and come back and defend yourself. But this finger, in an international safety code and regulation, this finger, your trigger finger, your index finger, stays outside of the trigger guard alongside until you're ready to fire. And it takes 1/100th of a second for it to move from outside the trigger to on the trigger guard. The same time that a lot of people hesitate in firing, and I'll try to demonstrate for you. I I have my perfect configuration. 3 fingers around, thumb down, my finger is outside the trigger, and I'm going to fire. Right? I just fired. Did I? Finger off the trigger, fire. So I'm gonna do it in sequence now. I'm gonna say fire and then move the finger. Fire, finger comes back, squeeze, right, fire. Okay. So you don't need to put your finger on the trigger. There's something called sympathetic nervous response. And some people, when they sneeze, their eye close, their mouth open. Some people even pee themselves a little bit when they sneeze. Men and women, they sneeze and they have a drop. Right? This is adult talk here. I've been on the range and see people with their finger on the trigger and a mosquito pass by and they do this and they do that and they brush the mosquito off with their finger on the trigger. And in one situation, a guy got stung from a wasp. His finger was on the trigger, and this is what happened. 2 shots went off outside of the trigger until ready to fire. I'm going to go into the two-hand grip and then close off. On first impression, this may look like a target someone has shot. 5 shots in the center of the bow, but actually, this is the attitude we find now with the certification thing. It's that eat a food. So if you're gonna pay for your certification, make sure that you can eat and sleep well. If and when you use your firearm or you're accused of using your firearm, and you can have proper subject matter representation before the court because you are now certified as competent with your firearm. What is competency really? Can you shoot in the night? Can you clear the firearm? Can you carry it properly on your person? When you're driving, do you take it out from the holster and rest it on their leg? And tell yourself you have a chance of shooting. There's a man I know, a very good friend of mine, who died a Friday evening, bled out, femoral artery shot. Did everything that I told him not to do. He transitioned from owning a Glock and he had a SIG. He loaded his SIG and did not decock. Took it out to go and pick up one of his family members, and that is it. May he rest in peace. Had been a friend of mine for 45 years. So let's get rid of the eat food and focus on the target